Hi, my name is Vinay Bala. Uh, I'm part of the Slang Labs team. At Slang Labs, we are building world's first voice assistant as a service platform. We're based out of Bangalore, India, and this talk is going to be about in-app voice assistants. So let's get started. Let me just share my screen. Perfect. Great. So uh, yeah, we're going to be starting with the title of the talk is adding in-app voice assistants versus getting a Domino's pizza, which is faster. So let me tell you a little bit about me. My official title at Slang Labs is Pied Piper. And you guessed it right, it's from the show called Silicon Valley. I'm part of the marketing team here, and in the past, I've also built communities and scaled them. I enjoy trekking, and I tweet about random stuff on Twitter a lot. I also blog on the Slang Labs blog about voice and voice assistants. So if you're interested, it's a good place to find more about what is going on in the voice assistant in the world of voice assistants. Slang Labs was founded by Kumar, Giri, and Satish. Two of them, Kumar and Giri, also co-founded Little Eye Labs, which got acquired by Facebook, and till date remains the only acquisition by Facebook in India. Now that now that the introductions are over, let's get to the agenda of the talk. So today we'll cover all the topics that you can see on the slide, and if you are interested in a specific topic, you can just scroll to that particular timestamp and hear that particular bit, right? So, what are in-app voice assistants? So, in-app voice assistants are you can think of them as voice assistants which sit inside your app and enable voice augmented experiences, right? So, uh, voice augmented experiences is basically where voice augments your touch UI seamlessly. A person can control both, can control the app using voice and touch uh, in a multimodal way, right? So that's the multimodal interface basically. So a person can execute tasks through voice or through touch. So uh, that's at a high level what in-app voice assistants are. All right. So what are the trends for in-app voice assistants? What TLDR in-app voice assistants are on a rise, right? So uh, according to an NPR Smart report, 85% of the total voice usage in America is happening on smartphones, right? And voice usage on first, second, third party devices like your Echo devices or Google Home Minis, your refrigerator, all the other devices combined make about 15%, right? So users are already used to using voice on their smartphones, and brands have now started to capitalize on that by adding voice assistants to the channels where which users are already familiar with, right? That is your apps and websites. So brands are adding in-app voice assistants to these apps and websites, right? In USA, in-app voice assistants are seeing uh, great adoption, where user comes with a very clear intent. So when for example, in a banking app or an e-commerce app, you go to that app with a particular mindset and a particular thing that you want to do, right? Versus, let's say, on an Instagram, you just go to the app to scroll around or to find new content. In a banking app, you go for a particular task, right? That's what we mean by having a clear intent. So now, if you see which all brands have been adding voice assistants, right? So in the West, in US particularly, brands like Dominos, Bank of America, Capital One, Yes Bank, they've already added voice assistants. There are a lot of apps, other apps also, like Spotify. Um, sorry, yeah. So like Spotify and Comcast, Charles Schwab, Mercedes. So all of them have been adding in-app voice assistants in different ways, right? So actually, Erica from Bank of America has seen more than 100 million requests since 2018 till 2019. Till December 2019, it had over 10 million users and had garnered over 100 million requests. And this year alone in 2020, from March to May, Erica added about 4 million new users, right? So this trend is just not restricted to the West, but it's a global phenomenon. India is seeing a surge in brands which are adding voice assistants. So in India, brands like Trainman, SpiceJet, Ghana, Big Basket, Udan, PNG, Flipkart, they've all added in-app voice assistants to their apps. Now, what is the usage even in India has been increasing. So Amazon's in-app voice assistant answered over 100,000 requests from customers on Amazon shopping app near the Diwali sale, which is sort of like a Black Friday sale, but in India, right? And most of those queries were to help people to navigate on a Prime exclusive access day nearing the sale. Amazon's in-app voice assistant actually answered over 1 million customer requests, right? So that's just Amazon. Now we are also seeing in Slang. We are also seeing one of the apps which added Slang's voice assistant. We are seeing some very interesting patterns emerge over there also. So 26% of the users who did voice search prefer to use only that, right? Rest of the users prefer to use both voice and touch at different places. This is for the search use case, right? Now let's dive a little bit deeper. Why is it necessary to have an in-app voice assistant? Right? What are its benefits? So why do we need in-app voice assistants? So in-app voice assistants unlock three major benefits for end users. First is, of course, the convenience part of it, the discovery and accessibility. So voice enables convenience because you can easily navigate the app with voice commands. You can search and filter using very intuitive voice commands. Now, discovery when in typical apps are limited by the features they can expose to a user on the prime real estate, which is the front home screen of the app. So voice allows features which are not on the home screen to be also accessed, right? To be discovered basically. And accessibility is again is a critical thing that voice assistants unlock, right? So critical benefit that voice assistants unlock. So next million users who are or emergent users, these users are those who are coming online for the first time using a smartphone, right? So these users find voice to be very intuitive and they are scared by or they feel hesitant to use a smartphone because of not being comfortable with the touch screen, the touch interface, but they're very comfortable with voice because it's intuitive. So voice assistants, in-app voice assistants can help them be at par with digital natives, right? So, you have great adoption, you have a lot of brands adding it, you have customers using it, right? So let's just then add a voice assistant, right? What is the issue? So it involves a lot of complexity. It is not easy. So what exactly is the complexity here? So a lot of design and tech elements have to work together to make this dream come to reality, right? So let's dive a little bit deeper into what exactly are these complexities. So to build an in-app voice assistant, you need some core components. You need core components like speech recognition engine, which is your ASR, your natural language processing NLP engine, text to speech engine, and a translation engine if your voice assistant is going to be multilingual, right? So these core components are typically provided by third party services. For example, Google Speech Engine APIs, then Dialogflow or Lex, or Amazon Quality, right? Unfortunately, uh, these you cannot use them off the shelf. You need to configure these components before you even try to consume them for your voice assistant, right? So the speech recognition engine has to be optimized for your domain, right? You need to further train this engine based on the vocabulary of your app, which to necessarily facilitate better accuracy in the app, right? Similarly, for NLP, intents and slots are the building blocks for an NLP service. Intents are used to classify utterances which are spoken by the user, and slots, also known as entities, are data that need to be extracted from the utterance that a user spoke. So you can think of it like I want to search for onions. So search is the intent, onions is the entity or slot, right? So you need two types of data for your NLP engine. First is the utterance data. First is the utterance data, which is used to train the intents. Second is the business data, which is used to power or train the slot definitions, right? Now, as the example I gave you before, this I'm looking for onions, right? So intent over here, I'm searching for, I want to search for onions. So here intent was search, onions was slots. The variable, the data over here was slots. Now a person might, it might not be so simple, right? A person can say, I'm looking for onions. He still has the same intent of search and the data is still the same, right? Or you can say, I'm looking for tomatoes. Then the data changes. So basically your business data is required to train the entities and your utterances are required to train intents. So you need a lot of user data over here to train these intents. What kind of sentences a person can speak, and all this is combined to train the NLP engine, right? Then the next is translation engine, which again needs to be optimized. You can get really funny and very wrong translations if you use an off the shelf product, which without configuring it for your domain. Uh, uh, and the last is the TTS engine. Now, TTS engine has basically prompts and statements. Now, prompts are the questions which users you need to ask the users, right? And statements are basically the information you want to communicate to the users. Uh, so these are the core components and configurations you need to make. You need to make to the core components before you even start to consume it. Right? Now, all this, there's another layer, the conversation design, right? Now, all these individual pieces have to be combined into a very intuitive experience in a conversation layer. And here is where you need your conversation designers to create intuitive conversations, which again ties up all these individual pieces together, right? So you would think that's it, but it's not. There's more. So assistant in a voice assistant would need its own UI also. Now, in-app voice assistant, the first element of the UI is a trigger button, right? So in-app invocation trigger. Now, this is just a fancy way of saying a mic button, right? But in some cases, this mic could also be a hot word, like Alexa. And unfortunately, I just triggered my Alexa. So just give me a minute to mute the Alexa button, Alexa device. Right. Yeah. So once the user clicks on the mic button, he enters into a surface, an interaction surface, uh, and this surface again has to be designed, right? So after that, there's also a training layer. How does a person, what does your end user has to speak? How do you tell them? So you have to train these users also. So that's where you need a UI for the training layer as well. Last but not the least is a UX layer. Now you need to have a very well-defined UX for this in-app voice assistant's UI too, right? For example, for how long should the voice assistant listen? When should the surface minimize? Right? If a user is speaking a short sentence, so the voice should stop listening sooner, and in-app voice assistant should stop listening sooner and minimize the surface. If a person is speaking a very long sentence, it should keep on listening. It shouldn't cut off the user in the middle. Now, both these things have to, assistant UI and conversational design has to come together and work in a very synchronous manner, right? So they need to be in sync. For example, if you're showing us, if you're asking a question to the user, it also needs to be there on the surface of the voice assistant, right? So there are many such cases. Now, finally, all these building blocks are over. No, wait, but there's more, right? You need to, there are multiple platforms that your in-app voice can run on, right? For example, Android, iOS, and different browsers. So you need to also handle the platform nuances of each platform. So the complexities arise more and more complexities arise now. So complexities involved with different OS. For example, iOS and Android, they take permissions, they handle permissions very differently. Then complexity is involved with different browsers, Mozilla, Firefox, Safari, Mozilla, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, all handle my permissions very differently, right? On top of all of this, your user experience has to be great, which if it's not great, the adoption of your voice assistant will not be there, right? So a voice assistant has to be performant and has to be very dynamic. So by highly performant, what I mean is it should be fast, it should be accurate, and by dynamic, it should be able to adjust according to the context of the app. So all this sounds too complex, right? I'm sure you must be thinking someone would have simplified it here, but that's what you would think. We've been in this space for a very long time. This is clearly a problem that exists, and so far businesses had to use these low-lying components and then train their own voice assistant. So bigger brands like Bank of America, US banks, Spotify's of the world could do it, right? But we wanted voice assistants, in-app voice assistants for the masses. So what we did was, Slang now provides domain optimized voice assistants which are ready to integrate out of the box via our unique platform called Voice Assistant as a Service platform. So what is this? What does VAaaS basically mean to me, right? So what we want to be, what Stripe is to for payments. So just like Stripe removed all the complexities of adding a payment gateway to your app, we want Slang to be the same for voice assistants. So that basically means we don't want you to configure any intent slots, anything like that. We don't want you to manage your own utterances. Why do you want to take that headache, right? We don't want you to spend time researching and designing complex conversation designs. We don't want you to write your own UI, assistant UI for your in-app voice assistant. We would take care of all of that, right? And we also manage all the platform complexities that arise on different platforms, all the nuances, right? And all our voice systems have sub-second latencies and are very dynamic. So what we want you to focus on is just your business data or the logic of your business, right? So I'm sure this sounds very, very cool, right? Uh, we are changing the way in-app voice assistants work. We want you to, when you think about adding an in-app voice assistant, we don't want you to think in terms of your core components like speech recognition, natural language processing engine, TDS engine. We want to map in-app voice assistants closer to user journeys in your app, the things that you understand the best, right? So what we have come up with is a voice assistant as a service platform where we provide out of the box assistance for specific domains. So for example, we have pre-built domains for retail, travel, banking, and we're adding more and more assistants as we go on, right? So let's, for retail assistant, for example, right? We have already defined set user journeys. The most common user journeys in your app, where you can use your in-app voice assistants for, right? So in the retail context, so the critical user journeys would be your search, your cart management, adding or removing an item from the cart, your order management, right? And we are adding more and more user journeys as we go on, right? Now, the whole idea behind these user journeys are that you can pick and choose which user journeys you want to select, and you don't have to do any sort of um, work or interact with any low-lying components that you would have if you were building your own voice assistant. We have abstracted out all the problems and given you a fixed solution that you can use easily in your app. So let's take one specific user journey, which is search, right? We have identified critical points in a user journey after studying hundreds of e-commerce apps. We have identified some critical points in the user journey, right, which we call as app states. Now, in a search use case, there could be search success, right, search failure, or directly adding that item to your cart, right? And we also have more such critical points, right? So what we have done is we have customized all the prompts, conversation design, question statements, information that your user might need based on these app states. For example, in a search use case, in a search user journey, right? You start with what item are you looking for? If a person clicks the trigger in app voice assistance trigger, right, in your app, so Slang automatically comes up and asks, "What item are you looking for?" Right, and then if a person replies with a product that we understand or is in your app, right, so we come back and tell them, "Okay, showing you this." Or if we don't understand it, we again ask the user, and we have different prompts with different thought processes built in, right? So in case in the user doesn't give the first time the answer correctly, we actually tell him, you need to speak closer to the mic button. We did not understand that. Can you repeat? Right? So different ways of asking the user without confusing them. So all this has been thought through for every app state of every user journey, right? Uh, Along with this, you already get all the UI out of the box. So all the voice assistants, all the user journeys are multimodal, and all of them just work out of the box. As I said, our voice assistants in our voice assistants are highly performant, right? They are dynamic and highly performant with sub-second latencies, right? So all these are just words, right? Who is believing these stories? So as they say, proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? So today in India, we're already working with the biggest customers in retail sector. So Big Basket, Udan is the fastest unicorn in India. SpiceJet is one of the leading travel carriers. Right, Trainman is a leading railway booking app in India. Right, so we are already working with a lot of these customers in India to bring in-app voice assistants for their particular domains. Right. So, what are the next steps? What time does it take? So, how do I do this? Right. So, we move on to how to actually integrate these in-app voice assistants. So, it's super simple, just three steps. Step 1 is select the assistant from a console. Step 2, select the user journeys which you want to enable in your app. You want to voice enable in your app. Just select those and then define these, enable the app states which are specific to your app in your code, right? So we think we can add an in-app voice assistant, Slang's in-app voice assistant, faster than getting a Domino's pizza. So enough words. Yeah, show me the proof. Let's see here in the talk if we can add a voice assistant to our app before the pizza arrives.
So step 0, let's order a pizza. I've already selected the pizza I want. Let's pay. And the pizza is ordered. Order pending. Let's see. Okay, great. See, order is confirmed. Now let's start the integration. Okay, so let's go to step 1, which is select the assistant. So we go to console.slanglabs.in and you sign up, login, which I've already done. So click on add assistant, select a retail assistant. Let's say voice summit 2021. I want to voice enable a grocery app, and let's voice enable the search user journey. Okay, so next and publish. So here is the assistant, and assistant is ready to go. Now we have to move to step 2, which we have actually already done. Now we have to move to step 3, where we have to basically add it in this in our app states in our code, right? So we start with adding Gradle dependencies. So add the Maven URL in the project level build.gradle file, and then add the dependency for the Slang retail assistant in the app level build.gradle file. Now go to the main, let's go to the main activity. Yeah. In the onCreate function of your main activity, initialize the assistant by using this code. Yeah. First, we need to define the languages we want to support. We want English, then use the API keys from previous step from the console. Right. Now use the API keys from the console to initialize the assistant. In the function of the same activity, ask the assistant trigger to be shown to the user. Yep, you now have the assistant integrated, and if we build the app now, you should see the Slang trigger pop up, and the user should be able to interact with the assistant. Right, it was so easy. So you already have a mic button, the whole UI already there. Now the next step is to connect the assistant's user journey with app's user journey. So we selected search user journey in the assistant, and now we need to connect it to the app's search user journey. To do that, app has to register a callback with the assistant, right? The onSearch method will get called whenever the assistant detects the search journey, and the retail item object will contain the item that the user looked for, broken down into brand, item, variant, size, quantity, and other things, right? Then the app can then use this input and fire its search. After the search is done, app should inform the assistant about app state the app is in, right? To do this, just return search success from this callback. Super easy. but most times the app would not know the status of the search until the app finished the actual search operation, which would be done asynchronously. This can also be handled easily by returning wait for action completion. This informs the assistant to keep waiting for the actual status from the app in an async manner, right? So we have thought about these things very holistically. After the search is complete, which in this case was done inside the search activity app, the app can then notify the status back to the assistant using assistant session object that was originally passed to the on search callback. If the item was found, it can return search success or it can return search failure and set the status to item not found. That's it. That's it. Now you have a working production quality voice search functionality hooked to your app. That's why we say these out of the box assistants will recognize bunch of pre-trained items. But if you want, you can also optionally upload your own SKU details in the Slang console. So just like so it's basically you can upload the SKUs that we don't have in our database already. You can upload them, which are and we will augment them, and then we can recognize those SKUs as well, right? So that's about it, guys. We have finished the integration, and you saw how easy it was. Now let's see where the hell that pizza is. I'm getting hungry over here. Shit, it's still being baked. It looks like it's gonna take a lot of time. Uh, so what do you guys? So the next step, let's see. Let's test it out. Let's see if the app is working. Yeah. So we will do, let's do a search and
To continue, please click on Allow to give microphone permission. Welcome to Retail Assistant. What product are you looking for?
Potato,
Looking up potato. What is next item on your list?
onion,
Looking up onions.
oil,
Looking up oil.
now the last step is to eat the hot pizza. Unfortunately, the pizza is still not here. We will wait a little longer for the pizza to arrive, or I'm gonna have it. And you guys enjoy adding in-app voice assistants to your apps in 3 simple steps. So the whole purpose for Slang's existence is that we want to accelerate the efficiency of every user of every app on Earth and beyond. So that's it, folks. That's how easy it is to add an in-app voice assistant using Slang's voice assistant as a service. If you are interested in adding an in-app voice assistant to your e-commerce or retail app, just shoot us an email on 42@slanglabs.in, or go to our website www.slanglabs.in. You can find the assistants. You can do it on your own. It's a self-serve platform. So if you're interested, just shoot us a mail if you want any help, or just go to our website, and from there you can start your own journey of adding an in-app voice assistant. Bye, guys.